Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss a question I get asked all the time, and that's how to fix certain accidents that you can have on pastel painting. So in this video I'm going to show you a common accident that happens. It's happened to me many times. How to sort out water droplets or some liquid damage to your pastel painting. I have a couple of tips for how to sort that out. So I hope you enjoy today's video. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to me here on YouTube, and also check me out on my Patreon channel for all my longer in-depth tutorials. Enjoy the video. So I thought the best way to show you this would be to prepare some patches of pasteled paper and hit it with some water droplets, and then let's try and do a couple of things to fix it and see what happens. So I've got some Hahnemühle Velour pastel paper, which I use a lot, and also some Pastelmat paper, two of the papers that I use in most of my work. But I've also tried this on a few other papers like UArt. The Sennelier, you're sort of in a lot more trouble on that paper because it doesn't like moisture at all, but for most papers this technique will work. So let's have a look at the two papers, Hahnemühle Velour and Pastelmat. And I've done two patches because with the first patch I'm going to try something, and with the second patch I'll do something else. So first of all I'm gonna get some water, put some sprinkles of dreaded water damage on these. So if the worst should happen and your painting gets splattered like this, it really feels like the end of the world. I've had this happen a few times and I've ruined a few paintings in the past by immediately reacting by picking up the pastel and immediately trying to cover over. And you see what happens, it just doesn't want to cover over at all. In fact, it starts to tear the paper a little bit. It's really not good. I'm gonna zoom in and let you see what's really happening. So yeah, on this first one, on the velour paper, my instinct is to try and cover up those dots as soon as it happens. But you can see that the worse the dot is, even if I try to cover over it, that dot will now forever shine through, and there's no amount of light pastel that you can put on top of that. Believe me, I've tried. That dot will stay there forever because I tried to cover it in too soon, and no matter what amount of pastel I put on top, it's going to be really difficult to hide that. And I used a pale or mid-tone blue, like something I would use in a sky, and you might have a big clear area of this colour. The last thing you want is to have blotches in amongst your clear blue. So the same thing on Pastelmat. If I come in right away, it's a little better at covering in, but it's always going to be a problem area. On the smaller dots on Pastelmat you can get away with it pretty quickly, but on the bigger blotches, like something more serious like this, you get that same effect where it just won't cover in no matter what you do. So I've ruined those two, and I'm going to try a different approach with these. And what I do now if I splatter it with liquid is I just walk away from it. I don't touch it. I just go away from it for as long as I can manage, usually overnight. With smaller blotches like this, maybe I can come back to it in a couple of hours, but my advice is to just leave it overnight somewhere dry, and we'll come back to it tomorrow and see if we can fix these blotches a little better than these blotches. So this is the next day and I've left these to dry properly overnight. So let's see if I can fix the bottom two any better than the top two attempts. So it feels very different now when I come in with the lighter pastel. And those dots are almost completely disappearing now. Let's try the big one here. I've had some serious water damage. One painting that I did in the past, I set it on a windowsill for a couple of hours just to have a look at it as I would walk past. But stupidly, some condensation ran down my window and it really damaged an entire face on a portrait one time. And I cried. I really thought the portrait was lost. But I let it dry overnight. I just had to go away and not look at it. And when I came back to it, I was able to do this, rework the areas. And you can see how much better that is. I mean, the biggest drop there, I could continue to work on that a little bit. But you can see that that's a lot better than this attempt, where this dot that I tried to colour in and cover over, it has really turned into quite a horrible mark that will never disappear. Even now that it's dry, I can come back and try now that it's dry, and it's just like it's ruined that bit of paper. So just by letting the velour especially dry overnight, you can almost entirely fix an area with water splatter. And let's have a quick look at the Pastelmat then. It wasn't quite as difficult to fix, but still left this horrible dark mark. Let's have a look now that it's dry. So yeah, they seem to cover in with no problem at all. I can completely disappear all of these marks now with no problem. So it's really simple. It's terrible when it happens and you've got the horror of seeing your hard work, what you think might be ruined, but just trust me, leave it alone, let it dry properly. The first two that I ruined by trying to fix it right away, not letting it dry, compared to the second two where I let them dry. And you can see there's hardly any trace of those water droplet marks. So it's a really simple solution, you just have to give it some time and try later on. And I wanted to quickly show you my newest painting, Baxter the Cat. And this very same thing actually happened on this piece with me. I foolishly got a little water droplet up here on the wall, but it's done on Pastelmat and I just let it dry for a while, came back to it, and I hope you can see that it's totally clear. So I hope you find this helpful. Pastel is such a wonderfully forgiving medium that allows you to fix many different types of mistakes or accidents that can happen along the way. It can also be used alongside some of the wet mediums in a mixed media style, but it's certainly a problem if you do get some water droplets on there that you weren't planning for. So I hope that this simple solution helps save one or two pastel paintings. Until next time, happy pasteling.